Hello everybody, it's so nice to see you. That? Why, that's my new antique china cabinet, thank you for noticing. And no, I'm absolutely not just sitting here to show it off. Anyway, in this video, I tried out two rather interesting diets I found in a magazine article from 1929. This article warns its readers about the unhealthy and downright dangerous beauty standards and subsequent dieting promoted by the movie studios of the time. Shows us how little times have changed, huh? Here's a few examples. For as Hollywood does, so does the rest of the world. It is a grim problem, this matter of diet, and it concerns not only every Hollywood studio, but every home in the United States. It is a mistaken idea on the part of the producers. They think that the public demands streamlines and stars, and, believing this, set the dangerous example to women of the entire world who blindly attempt to copy Hollywood's prevailing figure. At the end of this article, the author has listed down two diets. The first being the good and proper way to go about it, very cleverly formulated by a renowned Hollywood physician of the time, and the second being the wrong, dangerous diet that was allegedly followed by several movie actresses that this article has warned us about. Well, you know me, folks. As soon as I saw those diets, I became so curious to try them out for myself. And why not take you along with me? Just a little disclaimer before we get into it. In this video, I'm going to be talking a lot about dieting and calories and so forth, so if those topics make you understandably uncomfortable, then it might be a good idea to skip this video and watch something else instead. May I suggest my latest project, Gold Diggers of 1943, Flat Broke. Now, to be clear, although the intended purpose of both of these diets is weight loss, my personal reason for trying them out was simply curiosity and fun. I followed each diet for 2 days, firstly because I wasn't looking for results, and secondly because they, well, at least the second one, didn't seem very sustainable or healthy in the long term. So basically it was all about the experience instead of results. So I had 4 days of 1929 Hollywood-style dieting and got a little taste of what it might have felt like to be an aspiring starlet or movie fan of the jazz age. Quickly, before I take you back in time, one last little disclaimer. I am a vegetarian and the first diet does have meat in it, but I tried my very best to follow it to the best of my abilities with the most accurate substitutes I could get my hands on. Okay, I think that's it from me for now, so let's meet up with last week's Melina for diet number 1. Breakfast was half a large grapefruit, scrambled eggs, which was my replacement for scalloped codfish, stewed tomatoes, saltine crackers, a cup of coffee, a teaspoon of butter, and a teaspoon of sugar. I thought it all was a very pretty arrangement. This was quite a nice filling meal. I enjoyed it very much. I could see myself eating this regularly. Not sure exactly what the butter was supposed to be for, but I figured it was meant for the scalloped codfish. I also wasn't sure whether I was allowed to season the food. I used some herbs for the tomatoes and salt and pepper for the eggs. And that was breakfast. A small note on activity. Your average movie starlet, or just a trendy working lady from 1929, would have been on her feet for quite a bit. So, to match her activity levels, I decided to keep myself nice and busy for these 4 days. I've sort of been trying to recreate my edition of a busy working lady's day in 1929 Hollywood, and now it's lunchtime and I'm getting quite hungry. Let's see what's on the menu. For luncheon I had 2 plant-based burger patties, which was my replacement for the lean roast beef, tomato sauce, 1 medium baked potato, 2 heaped tablespoons spinach, 2 heaped tablespoons pickled beets, 8 slices cucumber, 1 glass buttermilk, 1 teaspoon butter, and 1 fruit cup. Lunchtime. I'm excited to try, except the buttermilk. I'm not excited for that. I thought this was a really gorgeous looking meal. It reminded me a bit of dinner actually. And it tasted delicious, apart from the spinach, which in hindsight I probably just didn't season correctly. The portion was a good size, it was very filling, and there was a nice variety of ingredients. I was really terrified of drinking the buttermilk, because I'd never had it before and I'm generally not a big milk drinker. But it actually ended up being not that bad. Except the spinach. Dinner time! The menu says 1 slice cold roast lamb, I used vegetarian sausages, 2 heaped tablespoons squash, which I couldn't find anywhere so I had to use pumpkin, mint sauce, 1 tablespoon green peas, 3 heaped tablespoons mustard greens, which I also couldn't find so I had some broccoli instead, medium-sized tomato salad, mineral oil or vinegar, and there's also a little dessert which I'll show you later. Continuing the positive trend, I really liked this meal, and just like the breakfast and the luncheon, it was really filling and a great portion size. As promised, here's the dessert. 2 small biscuits, half a cantaloupe and 1 glass skimmed milk. Since at this point I'd never had cantaloupe before, I was really excited to try it, but disappointingly, I really didn't like it. Luckily for me though, my good friend Cosmo volunteered to eat the rest. I thought it was very nice that this diet included a dessert. And all in all, I'd say that day 1 was a success. Time for day 2! Although the article says to vary your ingredients every day, I decided to keep my breakfast the same because I liked it very much. Honestly, this breakfast was truly growing on me. I mean, I liked all of the meals in this diet, but I'd say that this one was definitely my favorite. And here's that glorious luncheon again. No, I don't mean you. This time around, I swapped the spinach for some leftover peas from yesterday. Once again, it was very delicious and I was rather full afterwards. As for dinner, I replaced some more ingredients, a plant-based patty for the lamb and some roast carrots for the mustard greens. I also added some cucumber to the salad to make it more interesting. Once again, no complaints, a good solid dinner. Because I was quite full, I had my dessert a little while later while watching a movie on my bed. This time I had tea instead of the milk and an apple instead of the cantaloupe. And that was diet 1. Honestly, I fully expected to make fun of this diet, but I actually wound up having a nice experience. I enjoyed all of the meals, they were nice and filling, and I really liked how there was a variety of ingredients for each meal that you could change every day. I really can't fault this diet, just balanced, filling meals. I was feeling healthy, full of energy, with a clear mind and a good attitude. Except when it came to the cantaloupe and boiled spinach, of course. It seems like the 1920s physician was right after all. Time for a delicious breakfast. What's on the menu? Hot water. Yum. To be honest though, it was actually not a big deal for me to eat nothing. I usually feel quite sick in the mornings, and there are times I don't eat until 11 or noon, so this was pretty normal for me. Ah, lunchtime, finally! I'm so hungry I could eat a tomato and 2 crackers. Yep, that's my lunch. We also have 8 tablespoons of consommé on the menu, but that was taking ages, and by this point I was starving. As I'm sure you could guess, this luncheon was anything but filling. Still, I was glad to be eating something. Terrible news. My consommé that I have worked on really hard for the past hour and a half has died. I have put the heat too high and it simmered away. So there's no soup left, it's just the top part that I was supposed to filter out later anyway. So my luncheon, should I say rather, is cut rather short today, which is terrible because I'm hungry, really hungry. So instead I'm going to be looking at the sometimes section, I think. Sometimes section of this diet, which has two suggestions, spinach and a hard-boiled egg. So I suppose that's the sort of thing one would have as a snack. So I will have that instead of the consommé because frankly I am so hungry and I don't have the patience or time to make another one. I think I'll try again tomorrow. But for now, I don't want to see consommé ever again. In the end, I did actually manage to save the consommé a little bit by squeezing all the juice out of the egg and vegetables. Frankly, it looks a little bit disgusting, but really good. It's really good. It's delicious. I didn't count whether it's actually 8 tablespoons, but I'm guessing it sort of is. Maybe I spoke too soon. It's delicious. Maybe that is just the hunger talking. I could probably eat anything right now. After the tomato, crackers and consommé, I was still hungry, so I did end up having the hard-boiled egg from the sometimes section, which made a little bit of a difference. Dinner was an awful combination of cottage cheese, 2 ounces of pineapple and a glass of buttermilk. I was never a big fan of pineapple, but I was willing to give it another chance. I shouldn't have because it was still disgusting. I didn't film much that night because I had someplace to be, but basically, I wasn't full. The problem with only having had such a small dinner the night before was that I was now very hungry and actually feeling like eating for once, which made the hot water for breakfast all the more difficult. I have issues with chronic vertigo, and the hunger and lack of energy was making it so much worse, which made me glad that I was only doing this diet for 2 days. Those poor 1920s starlets, I don't know how they survived. To distract myself from the suffering, I decided to start on the consommé. Oh boy, was I excited to have lunch. In fact, I was so excited that I completely forgot that the meal was only supposed to be 8 tablespoons of consommé instead of the amount I was having here, which I suppose goes to show that your brain stops working when you're starving. Still, it was probably a good thing I ate that much, because after lunch I was no longer that hungry. Now, I might have been on this diet, but the rest of my family wasn't. But as the main cook of the household, I still had to make a normal dinner. Folks, there's truly nothing like making a gorgeous lasagna, then sitting down to eat this. This time around, I replaced the pineapples with canned diced apples, but to my disappointment, they were also kind of disgusting. I actually like cottage cheese, and the buttermilk wasn't the worst, but at this point I was sick of dairy. And although I was no longer hungry, I was nowhere near full. Thank goodness this is over. As you can probably tell, this diet was simply awful. I was constantly hungry, and the small amount of food I ate was never enough to be filling. Besides the hunger, I was tired, unmotivated, and my chronic vertigo was flaring up like nobody's business. I can't imagine just how difficult it must have been for a movie actress to be eating this way. All the long hours, standing on her feet all day, with the bright lights and the camera shoved in her face. I know I would have collapsed. Surely, all the constant suffering can't have been worth it. However, my curiosity is gone, I finally made my experience, and now I can confidently agree with the magazine article. Diet is the menace of Hollywood. Well, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed watching. Bye for now.